The last hope of humanity, the mysterious signal. The galaxy was in turmoil. For centuries, different species had fought over the stars, waging endless wars and creating alliances that would break as quickly as they were formed. The Galactic Council, a governing body of powerful alien factions, had ruled with an iron fist, keeping the peace with their vast fleets and superior technology. However, there was one species that had been overlooked: humanity. Once considered weak and insignificant, humans had quietly been expanding across the galaxy, building colonies and gaining influence in the shadows. But they weren't content with just surviving. They had a plan that would change everything. On the outer rim of the galaxy, a signal was detected, something never before seen in the galaxy's vast communication network. It was a message from deep within the human colonies. The Galactic Council dismissed it as a mistake at first, thinking it was just another glitch in the system. But as the signal repeated, a strange pattern began to emerge, one that hinted at something far more important. The signal was a distress call. The message wasn't just a random burst of data, it was a plea for help. But more importantly, it carried coordinates to a hidden human world, a place no one had heard of before. The Galactic Council's most powerful fleets began to scramble. The signal had been sent from a forgotten human world, and they had to know why. What was humanity hiding there? On the surface of the distant planet, a small team of humans had been working in secret for years. They were led by Commander Adrienne Holt, a brilliant strategist and scientist who had studied the galaxy's most advanced technologies. She had come across a discovery that would change the balance of power forever: a warship, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Holt's team had worked day and night to restore the ship, which had been built using a combination of alien technology and human ingenuity. The warship, codenamed Titan, was designed for one purpose: to protect humanity and give them the power to stand up to the galactic powers that had kept them in the shadows. But now, the rest of the galaxy was beginning to notice. The signal was the first indication that humanity had something far greater than anyone had realized: a ship so powerful that its mere existence could threaten the entire galactic order. As the signal spread, word reached the Galactic Council. They were alarmed. They couldn't allow humanity to possess such a weapon. They knew the power of the Titan would give humanity the ability to challenge their rule. If the warship were to fall into the wrong hands, the entire galaxy could be plunged into chaos. The Council's fleet was dispatched to investigate the source of the signal. Ships of every size and class made their way toward the mysterious coordinates, their weapons primed and ready for whatever they might find. The Council couldn't afford to let humanity's secret weapon remain hidden. They had to destroy it before it could be fully operational. But Commander Holt wasn't unaware of the danger. She and her team had been preparing for this moment. The warship, still in the final stages of activation, had to be tested, but there wasn't time for hesitation. Holt had given the order to initiate the first phase of the warship's power-up sequence. The Titan was about to become operational, and with it, humanity's fate would be sealed. Deep inside the command center of the warship, lights began to flicker as the ship's massive engines hummed to life. The ship was enormous, several times the size of any existing fleet, with advanced technology that could only be described as beyond the capabilities of even the most powerful alien races. Its armor was unbreakable, its weapons capable of obliterating entire fleets, and its stealth systems ensured it could strike from the shadows without detection. It was the perfect weapon, and it was humanity's last hope. But as Holt watched the systems come online, she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that gripped her. The signal had been received, and it was only a matter of time before the Galactic Council arrived. Humanity's secret was out, and the warship's existence could no longer be kept a secret. The galaxy would soon know that humanity was no longer a species to be ignored. Holt knew that the Council would not allow the warship to remain intact. They would see it as a threat to their power, and they would destroy it at all costs. But Holt had made a vow to her people. She would not let humanity fall again. The Titan was their weapon, and she would protect it with her life if she had to. As the Titan's weapon systems came online, Holt gave the order to prepare for launch. The warship would rise from its hidden base, and humanity would make its first move against the galaxy that had kept them in the dark for so long. The first battle for humanity's future had just begun. Outside, the Galactic Council's fleet was closing in. They were unaware of the ship's full capabilities. They thought they could stop humanity's rise with ease, but they were wrong. The Titan was not just a ship, it was the future of humanity itself. And now, it was ready to fight. The last hope of humanity was about to be unleashed on a galaxy it would never see it coming. The warship that could change everything was no longer just a myth. It was real, and it was ready for battle. The stage was set. The last hope of humanity had emerged, and the galaxy would never be the same. The creation of the unstoppable warship. In the quiet darkness of the human colony's hidden base, the Titan warship was beginning to come to life. Its enormous hull, long dormant, was now filled with power and purpose. Inside, Commander Adrienne Holt stood before a massive control panel, her hands hovering over the touchscreens that flickered with the ship's data. Every system, every circuit was alive with the hum of energy. For years, Holt and her team had worked in secrecy, carefully piecing together the technology that would make the Titan possible. They had traveled across the galaxy, studying alien wrecks and reverse engineering their most advanced technologies. They had learned from their enemies, adapted their weaknesses, and turned them into their own strengths. The Titan was the product of years of hard work, ambition, and the will to survive. The ship's design was nothing like anything the galaxy had ever seen. At its core was an energy source so powerful that even the most advanced alien races would be envious. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a fortress in space. Its shields were impenetrable, capable of withstanding even the heaviest barrages from the most advanced fleets. Its weapon systems were designed to obliterate anything that stood in its way, from enemy ships to entire planets if necessary. The Titan was more than a warship. It was a symbol of humanity's potential, a declaration that they would no longer be the underdogs of the galaxy. As the power coursed through the ship, Holt's mind raced. She knew that the Titan could change everything for humanity. No longer would they be a species that relied on the mercy of alien powers. They would have the strength to protect themselves, to carve out their place in the galaxy, and to fight back against anyone who sought to control them. But there was a problem. The Galactic Council had already sent their fleet to investigate the mysterious signal. They would be here soon, and once they learned of the warship's true power, they would stop at nothing to destroy it. Holt turned to her team, a group of brilliant engineers, scientists, and soldiers who had all sworn to protect the ship and its secrets. They had risked everything to bring the Titan online, knowing that the consequences of failure could mean the end of humanity's future. Now the time had come to test its power. "Is the Titan ready for its first test?" Holt asked, her voice calm but filled with urgency. A young engineer, Lieutenant Marcus, nodded, his face lit by the soft glow of the control panel. "The systems are all online, Commander. We're ready for a full-scale simulation." Holt's eyes narrowed. "Then let's see what it can do." With a flick of her fingers, the command was given. The Titan's weapon systems powered up, and the ship's massive cannons, hidden beneath layers of reinforced armor, emerged from their housings. On the exterior of the ship, weapons glowed with deadly energy, and the engines roared to life as the Titan prepared to move. The crew watched the simulation unfold on their screens. Targeting systems locked onto a series of holographic targets, mimicking enemy ships. The Titan's first test would be to prove that it could handle the scale of destruction it was designed for. The first blast was fired, and the results were immediate and devastating. The explosion of energy rippled through the simulation, and in an instant, the holographic targets were obliterated. The power of the ship's weapons was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. Even Holt, who had been expecting success, couldn't help but feel a chill as she saw the scale of the devastation. The Titan was not just a warship. It was a force of nature. "Impressive," said Lieutenant Marcus, his voice filled with awe. "It's even better than we expected." Holt didn't smile. The reality of what they had created was heavy on her mind. The Titan was indeed the ultimate weapon, but it was also a weapon that could easily fall into the wrong hands. The thought of the ship being used for galactic conquest, to dominate the galaxy rather than defend it, made her uneasy. As the crew continued to run simulations and fine-tune the warship systems, Holt's mind kept returning to the question of what to do next. They could test the Titan's power all they wanted, but once the Galactic Council arrived, everything would change. The ship would no longer be their greatest asset. It would become the galaxy's greatest threat. Suddenly, a loud alert broke through the control room's calm. Holt's heart skipped a beat as she saw the warning flash on the screen. "Incoming fleet. Galactic Council." The time for testing was over. The fleet was approaching, and they were not here for a friendly chat. "We don't have much time," Holt said, her voice firm. "Prepare for launch. We have to move out of here now." The Titan's massive engines roared to life as the ship began to lift off from its hidden base. Outside, the dark expanse of space stretched before them, and the reality of the warship's power settled in. This was no longer just a test. It was the beginning of a war, one that humanity would fight for its survival and its place in the galaxy. As the Titan ascended into the unknown, Holt couldn't help but wonder if they were ready for what was coming. The Galactic Council's fleet was closing in fast, and with it came the threat of annihilation. Humanity had built its ultimate weapon, but now it was time to face the consequences. The Titan was ready, but was humanity? The galaxy's reaction. The Titan had emerged from the shadows, a symbol of humanity's strength, and it had sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Galactic Council, made up of representatives from the galaxy's most powerful species, could not ignore what had just happened. A human warship, built in secrecy, had appeared from nowhere, and its power was beyond anything they had ever encountered. It was too much for the galaxy to ignore, too dangerous to let go unchecked. As news of the Titan's launch spread, panic rippled through the galaxy. The Galactic Council convened in a hastily arranged meeting, calling together military leaders, diplomats, and scientists to discuss the implications of this unprecedented event. The warship was not just another ship, it was a game changer. The Council had always considered humanity a minor player in the grand scheme of things. They were a species with limited technology, scattered across the galaxy, unable to challenge the established powers. But now, that perception had shattered. The first to speak at the council meeting was Grand Admiral Korath of the Turk Empire, one of the most powerful military factions in the galaxy. His voice was filled with authority, but it carried an undercurrent of fear. "We cannot allow humanity to have such a weapon," he declared. "This warship could change the entire balance of power. If they were to use it against us, no one would stand a chance." "Korath is correct," said Representative Valora of the Zauler Consortium, a race known for their vast intelligence networks. "This is not just about humanity. It is about the stability of the entire galaxy. If they can build such a weapon, what's to stop them from doing it again and again?" Council members exchanged nervous glances. The Titan's power was undeniable. The warship's ability to destroy entire fleets, its unbreakable shields, and its unmatched weapons systems were enough to terrify even the most battle-hardened species. Humanity had developed a weapon that could rival or surpass any fleet in the galaxy. "The problem is not just the weapon itself," said High Counselor Jurim, the leader of the Galactic Council. "It's the fact that we've underestimated humanity for so long. If they can build this ship, what else are they hiding? What other weapons might they have in secret? We cannot allow this to continue." A murmur of agreement spread through the room. The Council knew what had to be done. The Titan had to be destroyed before humanity could build any more weapons that could threaten their rule. "We must act swiftly," Korath insisted. "We can't afford to wait any longer. Our fleets must be deployed immediately to neutralize the threat before it grows." The Council agreed, and within hours, the largest and most powerful fleet ever assembled in galactic history was ordered into position. Ships from every faction, equipped with the latest technology and weapons, began to converge on humanity's position. They knew the Warship could be powerful, but they believed their combined strength would be enough to overpower it. The Council had underestimated humanity before, but they were determined not to make that mistake again. Meanwhile, far from the Council's notice, Commander Adrienne Holt and her team aboard the Titan were preparing for the inevitable confrontation. They had always known the Council would come. Humanity's rise had been too fast, too sudden, and now they would have to face the consequences of their actions. Holt stood on the bridge of the Titan, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The ship was fully armed and ready for battle, but Holt knew that their chances of survival would depend on how well they could outmaneuver the Council's fleets. The Titan was powerful, but it was still just one ship against a whole armada. "We've been preparing for this moment for years," Holt said to her crew. "The time has come to prove that humanity is not a threat to be destroyed, but a force to be reckoned with. We fight for our right to exist in this galaxy. We fight for our future." Her voice was filled with determination, but even she couldn't ignore the weight of the situation. The odds were stacked against them. The Council's fleets were vast, with warships far larger and more numerous than the Titan. But the Titan wasn't like any other ship. It had been designed to be a game-changer. Holt had to trust that the warship's power would be enough to give humanity a fighting chance. "We'll make it work," said Lieutenant Marcus, his voice steady. "We've tested the Titan's weapons, and it's ready for anything they throw at us. We'll stand our ground." Holt nodded. "We don't have a choice. We either survive this or we don't. But we fight for humanity's future. We fight for our right to exist." As the Titan powered up, Holt could feel the weight of the galaxy's gaze upon them. The entire universe was watching as humanity prepared to face the greatest challenge it had ever known. The fight for survival was about to begin. The Galactic Council's fleet was closing in fast, and Holt knew that time was running out. The Titan was humanity's last hope. If they lost this battle, they would be crushed under the weight of the galaxy's overwhelming power. But if they won, they would prove that humanity was no longer a species to be ignored. They were a force that could not be stopped. The Titan's engines roared to life, and the ship accelerated into the unknown. The battle for the future of humanity was about to begin. Human resistance. As the Titan raced toward the edge of the system, the crew braced for the inevitable. The massive fleet of the Galactic Council was closing in fast, a daunting sight in the vast emptiness of space. The shimmering lights of their enormous warships grew brighter by the second as they lined up, ready to destroy the Titan and every human that stood behind it. Commander Adrienne Holt stood tall on the bridge, watching as the Council's fleet loomed closer. The entire galaxy was watching this moment, and for better or worse, humanity's future hung in the balance. The Council had underestimated the power of the Titan, but now, humanity's very survival was at stake. "We don't have the luxury of time," Holt said, her voice calm yet filled with urgency. "Prepare to engage them as soon as they come within range. We can't afford to hesitate." Her crew nodded, each person focused on their tasks, their faces a mixture of determination and fear. They knew what they were up against. The Council wasn't just sending any ships. They were bringing their finest fleets, the ones equipped with weapons capable of wiping out entire planets. The Titan was powerful, yes, but even it wasn't invincible. "Commander," said Lieutenant Marcus, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "We've got incoming. They're within firing range. Should we open fire?" Holt's gaze never left the screen in front of her, her mind calculating their options in real time. "Not yet. Wait for my signal. We need to make them think we're retreating first. We don't want them to know the full extent of the Titan's capabilities." The crew exchanged glances, and then, with a quick nod from Holt, they activated the ship's cloaking systems. The Titan's massive hull faded into near invisibility, an impressive trick that hid its true form from the enemy. From a distance, it appeared as if the Titan had fled the scene, retreating into the stars. Holt's strategy was simple. Let the enemy think they were safe, let them underestimate the ship's capabilities, and then strike with everything they had. For a few moments, the Council's fleet hesitated. They had detected the Titan's energy signature but couldn't pinpoint its exact location. Without knowing where the Titan was hiding, the Council's ships were cautious. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse, and Holt knew that their best shot at survival lay in ambushing the enemy with everything they had. Then, the moment came. "Ready all weapons," Holt commanded. "We're going to make them regret ever thinking we were weak." Without warning, the Titan reappeared from its cloak, emerging like a ghost from the shadows. The enormous warship's weapon systems powered up, its massive cannons glowing with deadly energy. The first shot was fired, and the Titan's beam of destruction tore through space, hitting one of the smaller enemy ships. It didn't stand a chance. The ship was obliterated in a flash of light, its debris scattering into the vacuum of space. The Council's fleet was in shock. They had never expected such a direct strike. The Titan, now fully visible, unleashed its full firepower. The massive warship's cannons blazed, and its lasers ripped through the hulls of enemy ships. One by one, the alien fleets began to break apart, their ships torn to pieces in seconds. The Titan's shield absorbed the incoming fire with ease, its unbreakable armor turning aside the most powerful weapons the galaxy had to offer. "This is impossible," a voice crackled over the comms from the Council's flagship. "We've underestimated them. Fall back. Fall back." But it was too late. The Titan was already upon them, its weapons relentless. Holt and her crew were in control now, and the Council's fleet was quickly falling apart. "This is it," Lieutenant Marcus said, his voice shaking with excitement. "We're turning the tide. They don't stand a chance." But just as the Titan made its final push toward the Council's flagship, a warning blared across the bridge. The Titan's systems had detected something massive approaching from behind. The reinforcements. The Council had brought not just one fleet, but two, and the second was now closing in fast. Holt's heart sank as she looked at the data. The reinforcements were overwhelming, and the Titan had already expended a significant amount of energy in its battle. Their shields were weakening, and the weapons were beginning to overheat. "We can't keep this up for much longer," Holt said, gritting her teeth. "We have to make a choice. Either we keep fighting and risk everything, or we retreat and regroup." The crew was silent for a moment, each member weighing the same impossible choice. Then Lieutenant Marcus broke the silence. "We've already shown them what we're capable of," he said. "We've proven that we can stand toe-to-toe with the galaxy's might. But now, we need to survive. We can't fight them all. Not yet." Holt nodded, knowing that he was right. "Prepare for a retreat," she ordered. "We've made our point. We've survived the first wave. Let's get out of here before they can trap us." The Titan turned, its massive engines firing up once more, sending the ship speeding away from the battlefield. The Council's fleet tried to pursue, but the Titan was fast, and its cloaking systems quickly activated again, disappearing into the vastness of space. As the Titan vanished into the darkness, Holt couldn't help but feel a sense of relief wash over her. They had survived the first battle. But the war was far from over. The Council had seen what humanity was capable of, and they wouldn't stop until the Titan was destroyed. The battle for humanity's future had only just begun. A galaxy on the brink of war. The Titan had escaped, but only just. The second wave of the Galactic Council's reinforcements had been too much to handle in a direct confrontation, and Commander Adrian Holt knew they couldn't outrun the Council forever. As the Titan sped through the stars, Holt's mind raced. They had managed to destroy several enemy ships, proving humanity's strength, but they had also revealed the full extent of their power. The Council would not forget that. They would come for the Titan again, and next time, they would be ready. The warship's massive engines hummed as it entered deep space, far from the battle's reach. The crew was exhausted, but there was no time to rest. Holt had given the order to keep moving, to find a safe place to regroup, but she knew it wouldn't be long before the Council launched another attack. Their forces were vast, and they were determined to wipe humanity off the map. "Commander," Lieutenant Marcus's voice cut through the tension on the bridge. "We've picked up a signal, an encrypted message from one of our outposts. It's urgent." Holt frowned. "Put it through." The screen flickered as the message came through, distorted by interference, but still legible. A familiar face appeared on the screen. General Isabella Duval, a leader of one of humanity's military factions. Her face was grim. "Commander Holt," Duval began, her voice tight with concern. "We've just received word that the Galactic Council has put a bounty on the Titan, alive or dead. Their fleets are mobilizing again, and they're targeting every human colony they can find. They're calling for a full-scale purge." Holt's heart sank. The bounty was the Council's way of declaring war. If humanity didn't submit, they would be crushed under the weight of the galaxy's military might. "Thank you for the information, General," Holt replied, her mind already turning over their next move. "We'll need to contact the other outposts and get them ready for evacuation. We can't afford to stay on the run forever." "We'll do what we can, Commander," Duval said, before the transmission ended. The weight of the situation settled in. Holt knew they couldn't keep fleeing. The Titan was powerful, yes, but the galaxy's forces were overwhelming. They needed allies, a strategy that would give them a fighting chance. They needed to unite humanity under one banner. "Lieutenant," Holt called, "send a message to every human faction. We need to rally every ship, every soldier we can get. We can't let the Council divide us." Marcus nodded and began working the controls. Holt turned to the rest of the crew. "We need to prepare for war. The Council won't stop until we're gone. We fight back, not just to survive, but to show them that humanity is here to stay." The crew nodded, their resolve hardening. The Titan had proven it could hold its own against the galaxy's greatest fleets, but Holt knew that winning the war would require more than just one ship. It would take every human, every faction, and every bit of their ingenuity to stand against the full might of the Council. Meanwhile, far behind them, the Council was preparing for its next move. The Titan's sudden appearance had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and now, the Council knew it couldn't afford to let humanity grow any stronger. Its fleets were being reorganized, and commanders were already drafting strategies to ensure the Titan's destruction. The Council's leaders knew that as long as the Warship existed, humanity could never be fully controlled. Grand Admiral Korath, still reeling from his defeat at the hands of the Titan, stood in the war room of his flagship, staring at the holographic map of the galaxy. His fleet had been decimated, but he would not allow that to happen again. "They must be destroyed," Korath muttered under his breath, his eyes cold with fury. "Every human ship, every human outpost, will be wiped from existence. We will not stop until they are nothing but dust." The Council's strategy was clear: break the human spirit. They would target the human colonies, destroy their military forces, and cripple their resources. They would make an example of humanity, sending a message to any species that dared to challenge the power of the galaxy's established order. But Holt was no fool. She knew what was coming, and she knew the only way to survive was to fight back with everything they had. She was building a resistance, one that would rally the entire human race to take a stand against the Council. The time for running was over. It was time to fight. Days passed, and the Titan moved deeper into uncharted space, evading the Council's forces as best it could. Holt and her crew worked tirelessly, planning their next moves. They made contact with scattered human outposts, gathering what ships they could find and preparing for a final decisive battle. Humanity had come too far to give up now. One evening, as Holt sat alone in the command center, a message came through. It was from the last surviving human fleet on the outskirts of the galaxy, the forces that had once been fought lost. They had been hiding in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. "We're ready, Commander," the transmission began, "and we'll fight beside you. Together, we can win this war." A fire ignited in Holt's chest. This was the moment. The rebellion was no longer a scattered group of outlaws. It was a united force, a coalition of humans from every corner of the galaxy. And together, they would take on the full might of the Galactic Council. Holt turned to her crew, determination in her eyes. "Prepare for the final push. This war is ours to win." The future of humanity was about to be written in the stars. The ultimate betrayal. As the Titans sped toward the rally point where the united human forces had gathered, the tension aboard the warship was palpable. Commander Adrian Holt had united scattered human factions across the galaxy, and now, with a full fleet of warships at their side, they were ready to take the fight to the Galactic Council. The time had come to make their stand. The Council had pushed humanity to the edge, and now, humanity would push back with everything they had. The newly formed fleet was massive. Human warships of every size and class, ranging from sleek stealth ships to heavily armored dreadnoughts, all coming together under one banner. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about sending a message to the galaxy that humanity would no longer be oppressed, that they had the power to carve out their place in the stars. But as Holt stood on the bridge, watching the fleet assemble, something felt off. It wasn't just the weight of the responsibility, or the knowledge that the fate of humanity was now on her shoulders. There was something more, a nagging feeling in the back of her mind that she couldn't shake. She trusted her allies. She had no reason not to. But still, there was a lingering doubt. In times of war, trust could be a fragile thing. "We're almost in position, Commander," Lieutenant Marcus reported, his voice steady. "Our fleet is aligned, ready for the assault." "Good," Holt replied, her voice resolute. "We strike first. We show the Council that humanity will not be cowed any longer." Full speed ahead. The Titan and its fleet of human warships made their final jump, breaking through the fabric of space and entering the heart of enemy territory, the center of the Galactic Council's domain. This was it, the moment of truth. But as they entered the system, something happened that sent a shockwave through Holt's body. An unexpected transmission came through the warship's communications system from one of their most trusted allies. "Commander Holt," a familiar voice said over the comms. It was General Isabella Duval. "You need to hear this." Holt's heart skipped a beat. The message she received was a coded transmission, one she had not expected to receive. But as the words unfolded on her screen, the message was clear. General Duval, one of humanity's most trusted military leaders, had betrayed them. The message revealed a shocking truth. Duval had been working with the Galactic Council all along, feeding them critical intelligence on human movements, war strategies, and ship locations. Holt stared at the screen in disbelief. How could this have happened? How could someone so deeply trusted betray humanity in its most critical hour? The transmission continued. "Commander, you fought well, but this war was always destined to fail. The Council knows everything. Humanity's time has come to an end." A chill ran down Holt's spine. The ultimate betrayal had come from within. General Duval had made a deal with the Council, and now she was using humanity's own fleet against them. As the message ended, Holt realized the extent of the danger they were in. The fleets they had so carefully gathered were compromised. Duval had manipulated them into a trap. "Get me a full status report on the fleet," Holt snapped, her voice tight with disbelief and anger. "Now." Lieutenant Marcus worked quickly, his face growing pale as the data flooded in. "Commander, we've been infiltrated. Several of our ships are compromised. They've been feeding our coordinates to the Council. They're already preparing to ambush us." The air on the bridge felt heavy with the weight of this revelation. Holt had to act fast. If Duval's treachery spread further, they would be annihilated before they even had a chance to fight. "Reroute all comms to the Titan's secure channels. No more transmissions from anyone unless verified," Holt ordered. "We're going to confront Duval, and we're going to make sure she can never betray us again." But the damage had already been done. The Council, having received the leaked information, was already moving their fleets into position. Holt watched as their ships began to appear on the scanners, forming a tight encirclement around the human fleet. The trap had been set. "Brace for impact," Holt ordered, her voice filled with determination. The first shots were fired from the Council's massive dreadnoughts. They had anticipated the human fleet's every move, and now their firepower was overwhelming. Ships began to fall, their hulls pierced by the Council's advanced weapons, their crews dying in moments. The Titan, now in the heart of the battle, had its shields raised, absorbing the incoming fire, but Holt knew that they couldn't hold out forever. "Not like this. We're being torn apart, Commander," Marcus shouted as another barrage hit the Titan's hull. "If we don't break through their line, we'll be sitting ducks." Holt's mind raced. There was one option left, one final gamble that could save humanity. "Lieutenant," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos, "prepare the Titan for a direct assault on their flagship. We're going straight for the heart of the Council's fleet. If we can disable their command center, the rest of their forces will fall apart." "We're outnumbered, Commander," Marcus said, his eyes wide with worry. "The risk is too great." "There's no other choice," Holt replied, a fierce resolve hardening in her voice. "We fight with everything we have left. We take down their leadership or we die trying." The Titan's engines roared as it surged forward, breaking through the enemy lines, its weapons firing relentlessly at anything that got in its way. But Holt knew they were running out of time. The betrayal had already cost them dearly, and the Council would stop at nothing to destroy them. In the heart of the battle, the Titan's forward cannons fired one final blast, aimed directly at the Council's flagship. If Holt was right, this would be the blow that could turn the tide. But as the blast hit, something unexpected happened, something Holt hadn't anticipated. The flagship's shields absorbed the blast without flinching. A cold realization sank in. Duval's betrayal had been even deeper than Holt could imagine. The flagship wasn't just protected by shields. It was a trap, one designed to drain the Titan's power. They had been played. The war was not over. But Holt realized one thing. The true battle had only just begun. The final stand. The Titan shook violently as the shockwave from the failed shot reverberated across its hull. Commander Adrienne Holt stood firm, her eyes hard as steel. They had been betrayed, their fleet was crumbling, and they had just learned that their one shot at ending the war might have been turned against them. The Council's flagship, now fully powered up, stood before them, protected by a new force field that seemed impervious to the Titan's weapons. For a moment, the bridge was silent. The weight of their situation hung in the air like a thick fog. The Titan was damaged, its weapon systems beginning to overheat from the strain of the constant fighting, and the human fleet was scattered, heavily outnumbered by the vast Council forces. The hope that humanity had clung to for so long seemed to be slipping away. "We can't keep this up," Lieutenant Marcus said, his voice tight with worry. "We've used up most of our power. If we don't get out of here soon, we'll be sitting ducks." Holt looked at the chaos unfolding on the holographic map before her. The fleet was in disarray, and the enemy was closing in fast. Their position was untenable. But even as the reality of their dire situation settled over her, Holt knew one thing. Humanity would never give up. Not now, not ever. "We won't retreat," Holt said, her voice low but filled with unwavering determination. "We're not running anymore. This ends here. We fight, or we die trying." The crew, inspired by her resolve, nodded in unison. There was no turning back now. This was the last stand of humanity. Holt quickly issued orders to the fleet. They would make one final push. This time, they would go after the heart of the enemy fleet, targeting the Council's flagship directly. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. The Titan's engines roared back to life as the warship pushed forward, its weapons powering up for one last barrage. As the crew readied for the final assault, Holt turned to Marcus, her face set in determination. "Lock onto the flagship's command center. Every shot we have left goes into their heart." Marcus hesitated for only a moment before nodding and working the controls. "Aye, Commander." Targeting systems locked. Full power to the forward cannons. Holt turned to the rest of the crew. "We've proven ourselves. We've shown them that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. Now, we finish what we started." The Titan surged forward, cutting through the enemy ranks. The Council's ships tried to form a blockade, but Holt and her crew had no intention of slowing down. With each passing second, the Titan pushed deeper into the heart of the enemy fleet, its weapons firing relentlessly. Every shot was a calculated strike, aimed at disrupting the Council's command and control. Suddenly, the Titan's targeting systems locked onto the flagship's central power core. Holt's breath caught in her throat. This was it, the final moment that would decide the fate of humanity. "Prepare to fire," Holt commanded. The Titan's massive forward cannons glowed with energy as the crew braced for the impact. The power was overwhelming, a final charge of everything they had left. The first shot fired, the blast ripping through the vacuum of space. The enemy flagship's shields flared as they took the hit, but they held, barely. "Again," Holt shouted. "We don't stop now." The Titan fired again and again, each shot landing closer to the flagship's power core. The ship shuddered under the strain, but they couldn't stop. If they did, humanity would be finished. Then, with a final deafening roar, the Titan fired one last shot. This time, it hit its mark. The flagship's shields failed, and the core was ruptured. An explosion of unimaginable proportions lit up the space around them as the Council's flagship shattered into pieces, sending debris scattering in every direction. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, a cheer erupted from the crew as the holographic map showed the collapse of the Council's command. Their fleet, once a unified force, began to fall apart. With their flagship destroyed, their leadership was in disarray. The remaining ships hesitated, unsure of what to do without their command structure. But Holt wasn't ready to celebrate yet. There was still work to be done. The war wasn't over, but the tide had finally turned. Humanity had proven that they could stand up to the might of the galaxy's greatest powers. "We need to finish what we started," Holt said, her voice steady. "Rally the fleet. We push forward. This is our victory, but we need to make sure the Council never threatens humanity again." The Titan led the charge, its weapons still firing at anything that moved. The remaining human ships, emboldened by their success, followed in formation. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, humanity had the upper hand. As the Council's remaining fleets began to retreat, Holt felt a sense of relief wash over her. The battle for humanity's survival had been won, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity had proven itself. They had fought not just for their survival, but for their place in the galaxy. They would rebuild, stronger than ever before. And as the Titan moved through the wreckage of the battle, Holt knew one thing for sure. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity rose to power. The Titan had been their symbol, and it would forever be a reminder that humanity could never be underestimated again. The final stand had been fought, and humanity had won.